is a completely full recap of Season 2 Squid Games. Episode 1 of Squid Games Season 2 starts with Gi-hun, also known as Player 456, at the airport. The frontman warns that he has nowhere to go and he'll regret this, but 456 does not care. He immediately races off to Seoul, picking up a blade in the process. Turns out there's actually a tracker in the back of his ear explaining how the front man knew he wasn't leaving. Meanwhile, detectives searching for his missing brother, Jun-ho, is actually still alive. Turns out that he was picked off the coastline by a boat captain whom he's now befriended and works with to try to track down the island. So far, his search has been futile. Still, we're getting ahead of ourselves here for now. He wakes up in a hospital and faintly whispers his name in his brother, In-ho. We then cut forward 2 years later where we see Hwang Jun-ho is still working. He's recently left the Major Crimes Division, and unfortunately all the evidence that he gained was for nothing. His phone is gone, and there's no evidence of the Squid Games, the VIPs, or anything else. If Jun-ho wants to put his brother away, he may need to return to the game once more. Meanwhile, Gi-hun is holding out in a motel. He's paranoid and suffering from bad nightmares after the games. He's desperate to find the recruiter and even has called a gangster called Mr. Kim and his associate, Woo Seok, scour the subway for him. After 2 years, there has been no sign of the guy. Gi-hun, 456, is not giving up and believes that they need to expand their search. He wants more men, and of course, given money isn't an issue. 456 happily pays. In fact, he even offers out $1 billion reward for finding him, which is ironic given how Gi-hun is using money and this way was given what he went through. The thugs went back to work and launched a huge operation, getting everybody they can on it to find the recruiter. The search eventually bears fruit, and both Mr. Kim and Woo Seok find him at the subway station playing Deodakshi. Mr. Kim himself finds him on the other side of the subway after gaining a location. They follow him. The recruiters show up at a homeless park where he goads numerous people into choosing between a bread roll or a lottery ticket. Most pick the ticket, and as a result, he destroys the remaining rolls in front of them. While Gi-hun races to the station, he's pulled over by traffic cops who issue him a ticket. And one of the officers, is Jun-ho, the detective. Of course, they crossed paths in the games and soon finds the motel Gi-hun is staying at. Meanwhile, Gi-hun finds Mr. Kim and Woo Seok knocked out in the alleyway, thanks to the recruiter getting the jump on them. Turns out he has them both tied up and kept hostage. Unfortunately, he plays a sadistic game of rock, paper, scissors -1. The loser, they have to play Russian roulette, and unfortunately, Mr. Kim ends up killed as a result. Woo Seok spills all, which brings the recruiter over to Jin-hun's pad. Jin-hun, 456, wants to send a message to his superiors, believing that the recruiter does not understand, nor would he. Given that what he's been through, however, the recruiter reveals his story, including how he was faced with an impossible choice, his family or his job. The recruiter had to kill his own dad, but 456 is having none of it. He bitterly retorts how horrific the games were. The recruiter smirks and decide they should play a game, Russian roulette. However, neither are aware that 456 is outside. No, Jun-ho is outside. Still, the games take place, and eventually the recruiter loses. He smirks before shooting himself. Season 1, Episode 2 of Squid Games begins at the motel with a gunshot booming outside too. Gi-hun grabs the card from the recruiter's jacket just as Jun-ho shows up and sees what happens. Ho-seok shows up too and rants about loyalty while Ji-hun checks over the card he has given. On the paper are the words Club HDH and the time October 31st at midnight, Halloween. Jun-ho and Ji-hun catch up and exchange information, while Ji-hun learning about the captain and the hierarchy of the games. Jun-ho, however, wants them to work together and find the VIPs. Well, with these two and Ho-seok joining together, Ji-hun intends to use the money to recruit an army and a ton of weapons to try to fight back once and for all. Here we also see a few other newcomers sprinkled into the story. One comes a form of Kang Neil. She's recently escaped from North Korea and is desperate to find her 1-year-old who is still left behind in her home country. She actually shot her superior and left, but the ride is dangerous, in which explains why she's here alone. The little money she has gained from working as an amusement park mascot, including sleeping in the parking lot, she has no home, seems to be futile. So, of course, she's the perfect candidate for the games. Kang Neil quits her job at the amusement park, but she is moved by a sick kid called Na Yeon. Being rushed to the hospital outside, she follows them to the ward, where she dropped off her knitted hat and holds her hand for a bit before leaving. As for Jun-ho, he speaks to his mom, who's torn up over In-ho's disappearance. The ripple of resentment running through her, given In-ho actually gave up once one of his kidneys to save Jun-ho, the detective. As a result, his mom indirectly blames him for it. Ji-hun gets a replacement tooth fixed with a tracker in the midst of it, and recruits some gangsters to join Ho-seok, determined to head to the club on Halloween and all guns blazing. After struggling to talk to his daughter on the phone, Ji-hun, 456, fronts the group as they head in. However, Jun-ho, the detective, is waiting outside and notices some of the masked men with pink jumpsuits at the club. Unfortunately, the packed club is a perfect place for an ambush. And after one of them tasers Ho-seok knocks him out, Ji-hun is brought up to a limo outside, aka Ji-hun is 456, is brought up to a limo outside where the front man speaks through a gold piggy bank speaker. Ji-hun demands he stops the game completely, but of course his words fall on deaf ears. The front man simply sees it all as trash, eliminating trash, quote unquote. Unbeknownst to Ji-hun, 456, the front man is actually in the front seats of the limo. Johan doesn't get there in time, but he does have the men on him. Jun-ho is the detective. However, those in charge of the game are not stupid and have snipers up on the rooftops. They fire numerous shots at the cars and stop them, and of course the police are nowhere to be found. Realizing they only have one option left, Ji-hun asks to be put back in the games again. Speaking of the games, remember No-yul? Turns out she's been recruited not as a player, but she's actually been a foot soldiers, as one of the foot soldiers. As she dons an outfit from one of the 3 big trucks in an abandoned lot and prepares to play the games. I am sorry I can't do all of the reviews as the first 2 episodes, as the full reviews for the first 2 episodes have already taken me 10 minutes. I won't be able to do all of them, but I will definitely start doing them every day. Be telling you everything about episode 3 and 4 of Squid Game Season 2. It's Squid Game Season 2, Episode 3 starts down at the dock. Hoo-seok, Jun-ho, and a bunch of other men load up to a familiar boat with a fisherman that Jun-ho knows. By the way, Jun-ho is the detective. And using Ji-hun's tracker, who is 456, and they put a tracker in him, and he went to the games. Follow him before it's too late. Ji-hun awakens back in the game again, ready to play once more. He's back with his familiar 456 jumpsuit, and a whole new group of players are here. There's a bunch of different individuals here, including many that are in a lot of depth, and a YouTuber known for scamming people called Myungji. Most of these people have varying degrees of debts, with some going all the way up to 10 billion won. The familiar rules are read out with people, and there's some infighting, especially between a guy called Young-sik and his mom, and a bunch of players who are unhappy with Myungji as they lost money following his advice. Among them are Namgyu and a purple-haired rapper called Thanos. All the players do eventually sign their contracts, but already you can see where the ripples of hostility here. This time, as the games begin, we already know what's going to happen. Ji-hun, 456, is the only one who's wise to what's happening, refusing to smile and grimly following everyone as they head up. Only, there is a problem. One of Ji-hun's old friends, Junbei, happens to be in the game. Let's hope this isn't a repeat of Sung-hoon incident last time. Anyway, Ji-hun demands Junbei to stay close to him and pay attention to everything if he wants to stay alive. Unfortunately, there's a problem. It turns out Ji-hun's tracker, 456, where he hid his tooth, has been removed, which sends Jun-ho and the goons off in a different direction and not to the same island this game is taking place on. As a result, Ji-hun tries to rally the troops to play properly this time. With 456 working as a cheerleader, he manages to keep everybody alive for a while. Those who move are instantly killed, and it sets off a chain reaction just like before. By the way, Red Green Light is the first game. While with Ji-hun organizing traffic for those remaining, they mostly manage to keep things together, but No-yul, who is now working as a sniper, which is person that we have previously seen. By the way, also known as number 11, who is now working as a sniper, watches everything that's much closer. A lot of players end up killed though. And Thanos the rapper, sabotaged several individuals. Ji-hun saves player 444 while he's down and out, bleeding. Number 11 breaks the rules and kills him while he has crossed the line. However, she's also spares an individual, which happens to be Na Yeon's father, the person with that number 11 has previously seen outside of the games. So yeah, he happens to be a part of the games too, and presumably looking to fund his daughter's medical bill. Either way, it's clear the stakes are much higher this time. Although Ji-hun, 456, helped the others survive, it is unclear exactly how long he can keep this tirade going. And unfortunately, help isn't on the other way either. 456 decides to orchestrate the vote and try to stop the games, but of course the manager and the other soldiers drop the amount of prize money first to sway the masses with the promise of blood money. Jeong-dae, the man 10 billion won debt, is not happy with when 456 tries to rally the people to stop. However, it is not the adverse effect as they believe he can help with tips to get out of other games. Unfortunately, 456 Jihan is held up at gunpoint as the remaining players continue to vote. It goes right down to the wire with player 001 choosing to stay in the games, and guess who 001 is? Yup, it is the frontman, In-ho himself, playing the games in every bit a part, just like the old man was in Season 1. Episode 4 of Squid Game Season 2 begins grimly with the workers carting the coffins of the deceased over for the organ harvesting, and subsequently the incinerator. Meanwhile, all the players enjoy the food and drink given out except for 456. Jihan, he knows he's back in the games again properly and may not be so lucky this time. Well, 001 playing the mole, he approaches 456 and asks for his help. Jihan brings up the games played before, with the next obviously being Dalgona. Jihan promises to tell everybody what he knows if the game is picked, but of course In-ho is going to disrupt this, as he's the frontman. 456, Jihan, doesn't even realize that he's talking to the frontman, and the pair trade ideologies about the game's morality of pressing the X or the O to continue or stop the games. Alongside 456, there's Kandeo, who is used to be in the Marines. Funnily enough, so was Junbei too, and the pair have a little comedic moment together. Upping the stakes, Young Six mom, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, has helped a number of women given birth in the past, and as she knows one of the women, Jun-hee, is actually pregnant. We saw her earlier in the show leave her meeting with the doctor after getting nowhere with her deadbeat partner. Meanwhile, Thanos and Nam-gyu continue to have Myung-ji grief after losing their fortune. In-ho breaks this up easily, dispatching both kids and rallying the people to his side. In the middle of the night, In-ho and Jihan, 456, talk. In-ho brings up his story around how his wife is sick. By the way, In-ho, if you guys don't remember, is the frontman. How his wife is sick and the tragic spiral that ensued him from there. In-ho claims the games are his last chance, and while he understands what the money represents, he's desperate for all at the same order to help his wife and their child. Whether this story has any semblance of truth, or if it's a way to sway Jihan's conviction, is up for debate. Meanwhile, the organ harvesters are struggling to get the parts from the dead body, a lot of them deemed as unsavable because for some reason they have been shot numerous times. It would appear the workers also have a loose cannon, as they suspect No Yul, aka number 11, she defected to North Korea, and there's hostility toward them from the other soldiers. That night, No Yul is brought to the masked officer, at least that's what the subtitles call him. By the way, the masked officer is now being introduced. We have not seen him in Season 1. He brings up how they've known each other for about 7 years, and he's unclear why she's defying him now. No Yul, number 11, obviously has her own agenda and keeps her cards close to her chest despite wanting to find her kid. She doesn't give anything up. Meanwhile, Jun-ho returns to the SEAL station and futilely asks for help. Of course, they need evidence, so he gets nowhere, and tries to find an alternate route to get help. Back in the games, Jun-hee speaks to Myung-ji, who happens to be the father of her child. By the way, Jun-hee is a pregnant woman, and Myung-ji is the father of her child. It seems everybody is more connected than we thought, and he's pretty shocked that she's going to keep her child. Their conversation is cut short, though, as the second game begins. This time, though, it's not Dalgana. Instead, the team is given this is a team game, and Jihan is joined in with Inho, Daeho, and Junbei. They need one more person and somehow find another ex-Marine and Junhee. Six-legged pentathlon is a game where their legs are tied up together. Each member takes turn playing the minigame. Is the 10-meter mark. If you win, the team can move on to the next game. There are 10 mini-games in total. After choosing which one they'll play, the games start. For those who first are studied by others, trying to work out which games to take longer and the best strategies to take. In the midst of this, they notice that one of the soldiers is actually actively shooting in one of the coffins. In the midst of this, after the first set of people die, the games look set to continue, and the different leaders rally up their respective teams as they best can. And, yeah, I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I will also do a full review of Season 1, and once I manage to do all the episodes, which I only actually need 3 more, surprisingly, I will combine all of them and make like a complete review. Thank you all for watching, and thanks for blowing up my last video of the first and second video. Have a great day. Today's video, I'll be telling you guys a perfect review and recap of episode 5, 6, and 7. So basically a recap of Season 2's ending. So let's just get on with it. Episode 5 of Squid Game Season 2. It begins with the next set of players continuing their mini-games. Wanju's team manages to progress with her working as a cheerleader and de facto leader for the Misfits. Each of the players use their own motivation and reasons to progress, and despite the spinning top game looking like a lost cause, they manage to win. The games eventually continue all the way through to the final teams, which happen to be Jihan and a bunch of randoms. By the way, Jihan, I'm pretty sure he's 456. Player 456 from the first season. I wonder who will progress. Anyway, the group eventually reconvene back to the dorms. Where we get some dialogue over how Hyunju is still pre-op and needs money to help fund this. At the same time, Thanos intends to keep his tight-knit team in check and work out how to get the upper hand against the others. By the way, Thanos, he's the guy that wants to stay. There's votings that happen all the way throughout the games, and him and all the other O's, or circles, by the way, circles indicate yes as they want to play, and the X's indicate no as they don't want to play. Meanwhile, No-Yul is grabbed by a couple soldiers and thrown into her room by these crooks. No-Yul does her best to fight them off, but they threaten her with a knife, calling her Kami and forcing her into submission. Back to the games, and with 110 players down and many surviving, those left behind are split into camps of those who are grateful and those who are disappointed that more haven't passed to raise the prize funds, while the teams are once given more to vote or stay to go. Starting with player 001 and working their way up to 456. Among those who choose to stay are Minho, who's forced by his teammates, Junpei, who explain he has big debts, Young-Sik, extra depths due to loan sharks, and Hyunju. Jiande unfortunately manages to push people into that shanty in one more game, and it becomes pretty unanimous from here on that another game will take place. There are ripples of disgust or distrust and disappointment among the many players after the inevitable result as everybody is split into different camps with circle and X, yes and no. In the midst of this, Myung-ji is reprimanded for choosing to quit by Thanos and his thugs. Jihyun, 456, though knows what's next and prepares for the nighttime strikes. Once again, it's lights out. He tells his teammates they needed to take turns to keep watch. By the way, lights out is basically just like a free-for-all, I guess you would say. Funny enough, young Seek's mom actually has the braid she's hidden in her hair. Blade she is hidden in her hair, which could come in handy later down the line. In the morning, the third game is about to begin. As it does, Junhee launches his latest mission to shed out and tries to find Jihyun. By the way, Junhee is the detective and he's trying to find Jihyun. And this coincidentally nicely with Noyul sporting a nasty cut across their cheek, prepared to head out with the other soldiers for the next game. Noyul is number 11, for some of you that cannot remember. So what is the third game? Well, it's something called Mingle. The rules of this game include the middle platform rotating, and when they hear a number, they have to form groups of that size and go into the rooms. The door will close within 30 seconds, so there's not much of a strategy, to be honest. Jihyun, Inho, and the other de facto leaders all tell their respective teams they need to stay strong and not panic as the game begins. On to episode 6 of Squid Game Season 2 begins with the next game taking place, and it is, as predicted, absolute chaos. 456, Jihyun watches numerous others killed from each door. Completely powerless, however, even those behind the doors with the wrong numbers inside are also killed too, so there's no place to hide. The room is covered in blood as the game goes right down to the wire. Young Seek and his mom are separated when they need to pick 3 to go inside the rooms. Inho works up to rile up young Seek's mom, claiming that she's been abandoned, but she refuses to believe this. The others still haven't caught on to what he's doing yet. Young Seek does survive, but is definitely showing where the dividing lines are. Young Mi ends up killed, which shocks Youngju, who's racked with pain. However, despite Myungji shutting the door and locking it, he did save everyone inside the room, so the morals of that are conflicted. It's clear that the idea here is to go down to 100 players, and that they're doing it going until they reach that point. The final round is absolutely harrowing. All of these individuals we've followed race for the doors. So who ends up killed? Well, a whole bunch of individuals, but Inho ends up killing someone inside the room with him, and Junbei, so they survive. By the way, Inho was actually the front man, my mistake. As the numbers get dangerously low, Junho flies a drone over the island searching for clues. Junho is actually the detective. He's flying a drone over the island searching for clues of the Squid Game HQ, known as the Squid Game Island also. However, he does find a strange trapdoor that could well be a crucial clue, so he decides to send the ground troops in to look with more detail. With the result team in place, they head to the trapdoor, but it's rigged with a booby trap, and they end up blowing sky high. With so many traps across the island, it doesn't pose as an operation, and the groups contemplate the next move. The group ain't well truly split between those who want to stay and those who want to leave. Cutting back to the actual Squid Game, the group are well truly split between those who want to stay and those who want to leave, and they even end up with the opposite sides of the dorms. This, of course, means they could be big hostilities that night, with the teams trying to sabotage the others into submission. In the middle of this, Thanos and Namju end up confronting Minsu and bully him into trying to change his vote. Myung-ji shows in the bathroom and a big fight breaks out between them. Thanos chokes out Minsu, but the latter gets the last laugh here. He happens to be holding a fork and then stabs Thanos in the neck twice. The same fork that Ji-hun had with his food, perhaps. On to the final episode, episode 7 of Squid Game Season 2, starts this finale with Thanos stabbed in the neck with a fork. Blood gushes over Myung-ji's face, and unfortunately, this results in several different individuals killed with that very same fork in the bathroom. Soldiers stand outside the door and do absolutely nothing to stop it. Eventually, 5 people lose their lives in the brawl. These deaths causes an even bigger rift between the two teams when they arrive back at the dorms. Time is very much of the essence here, and while luck seems to be on Ji-hun and the other Xers on the X's sides, or the no sides, people that want to not play, it remains to see if anybody changes their minds or not in the upcoming vote, if they can even make it that far, of course. So, what happens with Junho? Let's get this off first. Junho, as we know, is the detective. Meanwhile, at sea, the captain is found messing about with the drone, and unfortunately he stabs the drone pilot 7 times, then throws him overboard to hide the evidence. It turns out that the captain is actually crooked and working against them, and is working for the games. But for now, Hoo-seok and Junho are none the wiser to what's going on. Back to the game. No-Yul is seduced, and the officer learns that she's playing by their rules, at least for now anyway. No-Yul is number 11, by the way. The soldiers are briefed and told to get ready, as there is about to be a special game underway shortly. Of course, there is going to be an assault as soon as it's dark. But Ji-hun believes they should direct the anger towards at those upper levels and in control rather of those fellow contestants. Of course, the guys are unaware that In-ho is working against them. By the way, In-ho is the front man. As soon as it hits lights out, Ji-hun organizes the troops to get out of the bed and not attract any attention of themselves. Of course, all the O team stab as many of their enemies, aka the X's, aka the people that do not want to continue the games, as possible, causing chaos. Ji-hun decides to take a small sacrifice in order to end the game, not telling everybody to get under the bunks and try and keep their plan a surprise. In the wake of this drama, Minsu tries to kill Namju, but he misses after throwing a glass off the top bunk, and eventually the guards head in to settle the situation. This is precisely what Ji-hun is waiting for. With the attention diverted, the group works together to take control of the soldiers, pouncing them and taking on them and taking the guns for themselves. A shootout ensures in the dorms, and the soldiers are eventually forced to flee. This is just so the guards can get reinforcements, though. And after shooting out the cameras and seizing as much ammos and guns as they can, The group attempts to recruit more reinforcements to storm the control room and stop the game. A lot of people are reluctant, but Junpei manages to help sway some of them onto their side. They have radios, and with a soldier held captive, they got out their dorms and prepared to head for the HQ. Of course, they came under heavy fire their entire way on the hallway, and their hostage ends up being killed too. The shootout is intense as it takes place in the hallway, but Ji-hun grabs the mask. The mask needed to pass security and goes on ahead away from the other soldiers. Junpei and Ji-hun manage to pass security and make it into the management area, working together to divert attention and snatching up ammunition. I can't talk today. From any guards they kill on their way. While they fight up to the control room, Daeho heads back from the group to try to find some more magazines as the group running dangerously low on ammunition. Despite getting the magazines back, Ji-hun hands over his clip to In-ho, who catches up and believes there's a way out. Unfortunately, Daeho has a change of his heart and abandons his comrades in all chaos. Unwilling to go through with this anymore, Yeonju susses something is up and decides to head back to the dorms as well. Back at the purple hallway, like the main area, the groups fight, and In-ho inevitably makes his moves, betraying the rebels and shooting them in the back. He radios through to Ji-hun and claims they have been killed, but of course the reality is very different. Ji-hun falls for it once more, believing his friend is dead, before he fires one more shot and switches the radio channel. Next, In-ho radios through to the soldiers, telling them to wrap it up, quote unquote. Soldiers storm the dorms where Hyunji is encouraged by Young Sik's mom not to move and get involved. She complies, while the rest of the rebels find themselves killed and those who surrender. In the wake of overwhelming odds, the expectation here is on course, Ji-hun given by the massive plot armor. The frontman faces Ji-hun and kills Junpei right in front of him as he screams to the heavens. By the way, Junpei is like one of the main characters besides the frontman. Literally Ji-hun's best friend, even before the first season. Yeah, Junpei is pretty important. And then the frontman faces Ji-hun and kills Junpei right in front of him as he screams to the heavens. The season comes to an end. However, there is a mid-credit sequence, though, showing the players left facing a new game, which appears to be a variation of red light, green light. However, there is 2 dolls this time. Some people believe that this might be a trolley problem. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day.